Well, all right. We'd like to welcome everyone back to the Trampled Underfoot podcast. And these are your hosts, Mark Lindsay and Eloy Escajedo. And it's a brand new year, although not really, but it kind of is for you folks listening. After the fact, this is our first 2021 episode. And for those of you that are watching us live, this is our last 2020 episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're basically sitting on that fence where we've got 1 foot in the past, one foot in the present, 1 foot in the past, and we're sitting right on that fence, right in the middle. So
Yeah, and you're listening in the future. So
yeah.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're glad you can attend. Step inside, step inside.
So for this brand spanking new year, to me, worst case scenario or best case, either worst or best case scenario, we don't necessarily want it to be like last year. But just as soon as you say something like that, yeah. I'm not one for, like, what do you call it?
Superstition.
I'm not one necessarily, but I'm not gonna lie. I have gone through little moments of superstition. And I think we all have some do you have any superstitions, even though they might not be incredibly out there, or maybe they are, I don't know, but do you have any underlying superstitions?
I could lie to you and say no, because you're right. Superstitions are those goofy little things that we absolutely know they can't be real. You know, step on a crack, break your mother's back, stuff like that.
Hey, by the way, I can't believe we found we pulled something out of our butts. we just went around the block and we pulled something that we can actually chew on, right?
I'm chewing on nothing you pulled out of your butt, man. That's all there is to it.
Well, that's a good call. Good call.
And right there is where I do the jump cut, you know. Do 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 do. Actually, I do it right now. But yeah, I don't consciously have any superstitions that I can think of, but I don't believe in slapping fate in the face. You know, I know my luck. I know how my luck runs. And
tell us.
Okay, if it's 40 below zero outside and I take off my right glove, whatever I'm looking for is going to be in my left pocket. If I go down and rob a bank with 400 other people, I would be the one to get caught and made the example of. I can't win. So I try to live as honest a life as I possibly can, mainly because I'm the world's worst liar, but that's beside the point.
Right.
But yeah, there are certain little things that I do pay attention to, you know, goofy stuff like, well, geez, when I was living in Nevada, if I went down playing blackjack and I happened to be wearing a certain shirt when I won big, I would wear that shirt again. That's now my lucky shirt. So there are little superstitions like that.
Interesting.
But none of the other stuff that I can think of, I mean, oh boy, it's really hard to get into the superstition thing without also bringing in old wives' tales, because they're kind of close, they're kind of similar, you know.
Yeah.
Eat the crust on your bread, you put hair on your chest, things like that. It's nonsense. Yeah. And what does that say for all the women who do eat the crust on their bread? It doesn't work on them. It knows, you know, I mean, I don't know. It's just logically, it makes no sense. But then again, you do kind of pay attention to certain things.
Well, one time, Elvis Presley was doing and I think we've touched on it. Elvis Presley was doing a interview, something or other type of interview. And so they noticed that he wore a Christian cross. He wore a Star of David. He wore the Muslim uh, moon
The
and
crescent, yeah.
the crescent, and the reporter said, "Well, wait a." So he says, "How come you're wearing all these different religious symbols around your neck?" And he says, "Well, I don't want to be locked out of heaven on a technicality."
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I love so I I I love that because of so many things. Number one, in his mind, what he said, whether it was jokingly or not, we don't know, or he believed this, but the idea of these talismans or these items being the important thing is sort of something from an era prior to now. In modern times, the idea of a talisman and this and that is still prevalent,
Right.
and in Miami there's examples of that I could get into, especially with traditions brought from Africa
Right.
to places like the Caribbean, Cuba and whatnot, and was incorporated into the lore. So there's talisman like things,
Right.
but the idea of one needing some sort of article to, like the cross or garlic for vampire, like all those things are things from the past that modern people, not that we're any necessarily smarter, maybe in some little things we might have progressed different ideas, but different doesn't mean smarter. Well, to us looking at something like that, well, I wear all of them because I don't want to be left out of heaven on a technicality. It seems funny, a little bit innocent.
True, but then again, maybe he wore it for just that reason. Maybe he wore it for just that reason, just so somebody would ask. Now, I don't know how much of a troll Elvis was. I really don't. I don't know if he did things like that. But that actually sounds kind of fun.
I think trolls were invented in 2006 with YouTube.
Nope. There have been trolls forever. There have been trolls forever. It's easier to be a troll now because you have the anonymity of the keyboard. People are braver, they're brasher, they're bolder, but there have been trolls forever.
I wanna just qualify the characteristics that you attributed to the trolls. I do want to say I would call them brave if they flew under a flag. In other words, I'd call them brave if they were on the internet and exposed, revealed as who they are, like we do, us that have these channels that are long-standing. People know. So if we give a comment or an opinion, we are putting our reputation on the line as to who we are. There's no secret on that. But I do not prescribe anything other than cowardness to a lot of these people that fly under these anonymous little things, and then they'll say something stupid or brass and then duck out. I see a lot of that.
Well, let me qualify my statement on bravery. What I mean by that is it's kind of sort of like the bravery from alcohol. You will say things if you've been drinking that you would never think of saying when you're sober.
Right.
It's the same thing with the anonymity of the keyboard. It makes you bulletproof.
Yeah.
They will say things and be bolder and brasher than they ever would face to face. That's what I mean. It's liquid courage. It's keyboard courage.
Yeah. Totally.
That's what I mean by being brave. But yeah, they've been around forever. But the superstition thing has got me thinking about a few of them. For instance, New Year's coming up for us. Full disclosure, it's still the 29th of December. But you folks in the future, you're going, oh, I remember 2021. But anyway, or 2020 even.
It's just all craziness, man.
For New Year's, there's a superstition out there that you're supposed to eat black-eyed peas on New Year's for good luck. Did you know about that?
You've told me in the past. We do not follow. We've never followed. We have our own tradition, but we don't do that one. No.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't, and I've known about it for years, but basically, I don't like Black Eyed Peas. So, and I
Right.
don't just mean the group.
So,
So,
what other traditions are New Year's? I'll tell you mine after
um,
you.
I'm an old person. My tradition for New Year's is to watch YouTube or
Well, no, I
television
mean,
because I don't participate. I figure that's the amateur hour. Let the kids go out and get the DUIs. Let the kids go out and wreck their cars. I'm staying home where it's safe. There's nothing really that I do for the new year except kind of just wipe the sweat off my brow and go, shoo, made it through another one. But that's about it. You
no,
know,
but I mean communally in your traditional in your so there's the Black Eyed Pea thing. Are there other?
no, that's about it. I mean, about all we would ever do is, when as kids, we thought it was great to be able to stay up that late, and that was about it. I never really, we didn't watch any of the New Year's Rockin' Eve or anything like that. We were outside banging on pots and pans and making a lot of noise and everything at midnight, or shooting pop guns when I was 6 or 7, and just basically making a lot of noise. Folks who had fireworks would fire them off, and we'd watch or listen, depending upon what they had.
So no rituals
And
other than the Black Eyed Pea thing?
nope, nope, that's about it. I mean, we're not overly superstitious people. My family, anyway. I mean, I know there are a lot of people out that are just, oh no, step on a crack, break your mother's back, and they really honestly look for cracks in the concrete and won't step on it. And I'm just like, don't really care. We were talking about a superstition the other day. If you find a penny in a parking lot or out on the street or on a sidewalk or whatever, if it's heads up, you put it in your shoe for good luck. If it's tails up, you put it in your pocket. I don't know. My mother taught me that when I was like 6 or 7. And I always wondered what you do when you're wearing flip flops because you can't put nothing in your shoe. You have to put it in your pocket.
That's one that we shared, but mine's was a variation. And when I say mine's, I mean traditional to this area of people that originated from Caribbean.
Right.
I can be broader now.
Mhm.
I can be broader now as far as origins because I'm starting to realize that the whole thing is insanity. A long time ago, or when I first got my results, and you and Steve and I were there to open up my results with the thing, and Steve saw my different categories of ethnicities. He said, "My goodness, you're a mutt," or "My good," and so I was like, "Well, yeah, that's freaking." But the problem is even more severe than that. And the further I've gone into, it's more severe because there's more population. It becomes so I can be more. Anyways, I can be more broad. Like I can be much more encompassing. I can say Caribbean.
It's not just Cuba anymore; it's Caribbean.
Well, I mean, not for my direct thing necessarily.
Well,
It's
but that has an air of sophistication to it. That sounds a little bit more world traveler type of a thing.
well, I mean,
To name a region rather than a city or even a country. It's kind of like the people who, when they go to Italy,
yeah,
they go, "Oh yeah, no, we vacationed in Tuscany." It's like, you went to Italy.
yeah.
Well, no, we went to Tuscany. Okay, fine.
Well, to get to what I was, so I'm just gonna say a Caribbean thing, but it's actually more specific. But I'm just, or it might not be. I don't know. Anyways, what's typical around here is there are little what you call what was it the word that we're
superstitions, right? Or
so,
traditions.
traditions, let's say, with superstition attached to it. With possible superstition. I don't know how. So one of the things is that they'll have 12 grapes. And everybody will have 12 grapes and a cup of sparkling bubbly. And everybody gets a cup. The kids get a small little cup and this and that. And you have 12 grapes that are washed. And you're supposed to eat the 12 grapes for the 12 months of the year and some this and that. So that's one thing.
Okay.
Another thing is, apart from the grape thing, they would take a bucket and fill it with water
Okay.
that was in the house, and then at 12 they'd take the bucket out and they dump the bucket outside their front porches, outside their houses, and people in random succession would do that as well. And I believe that the origin of that, or I believe that, I don't know if this is a fact or not, but I think it's something to do with washing out the old and getting rid of the old and bringing in the new and good fortune and such. And so they'd throw that bucket out full of water. And so that was another one. So there was those two things that I remember. There might be others, but those two things we did do. My grandmother would do. My dad wasn't like much, other than maybe the grapes were good, so he'd eat but my grandmother continued that on both sides, would do that.
Mhm.
So those are the two things for New Year's.
I'd not heard either of those. That's interesting. I wonder where the 12 grapes came from. I get that they represent the 12 months of the year, and now they're gone.
Yeah.
And then the champagne was to celebrate.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'd never heard any of those. Now, is that the whole area? It's kind of a regional thing.
Okay, so I'm assuming with a good degree of confidence that at the very least, it's a Cuban tradition.
Okay.
At the very least.
Okay. But none of your like Nicaraguan friends or Colombian friends have ever mentioned anything similar.
No.
Okay. Okay.
That I was aware of growing up, I don't recall. Although my area, the Nicaraguan to Cuban ratio is pretty. Or originally there was a lot of Nicaraguans here, and maybe I couldn't tell or not. I don't know, but I do know that the Cuban neighbors and the other Cuban neighbors and my family did it. So I'm assuming that it multiplied throughout the Cuban community that they did these things. So the grapes and the water in a bucket being tossed out the door.
Okay. Well, now, do you have any special kind of things? I mean, we've all heard the cliches about for good luck, the rabbit's foot. You've got to have a lucky rabbit's foot. And I never understood that, because I figured if it was lucky, how come the rabbit lost it? But or the horseshoe, the lucky horseshoe on your wall. There's a Danish physicist, Niels Bohr, who won the Nobel Prize in the early 1920s for he was getting into discovering the atom and making it more easy to understand and doing a lot more research on it. He won the Nobel Prize in 1922, and he had a horseshoe on his wall. A lucky horseshoe on his wall. And he was asked about it once, and he said, well, I don't believe in it. But from what I understand, people who do believe in it say they have good luck if they have one. And that was his answer. It's like, I don't believe in it, but people who do believe in it say it brings them good luck.
I mean, there's a lot of things that we do that we don't know for a fact that's the right. There's a whole bunch of things I could probably sit down and write down and that we do that have no particular basis in sort of like, what would you call like total concrete solid fact or evidence. And that guy sounds like that was one of the things that he did. Maybe he just liked it, or he liked that connection or that. But there's no.
I mean, and or the thing about, you have to have the ends of the horseshoe pointing up, because if you hang it upside down, all the luck runs out.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard that repeatedly, and it's like, where do you get that from? Where do these come from? But then again, superstition not even being involved, we do a lot of things that we don't even really know we're doing it. We don't know why we do it, and the meaning of it is lost. I mean, a long time ago. Can anybody, I mean, we're mixing metaphors here and going back to other holidays, but can anybody really remember why we celebrate Halloween? Not in America. I mean, it goes way back. I mean, we know the purpose of Thanksgiving. We know the purpose of Christmas. We know the purpose of New Year's. We know the purpose of Easter. We know the purpose of Valentine's Day. What about Halloween? That's the only holiday that I can think of that we actually celebrate, and the country en masse celebrates it. But does anybody really have any idea why or what it's about or what it's for? I don't think so.
I think of holidays, apart from them being culturally important on the level of reaffirming cyclically cultural ties and for whatever it's worth. So on that level, but if you think about it, Halloween, the context of it is the witching hour, witches and night and at night and vampires and all the things that terrorize kids. And yet kids, even though they're terrorized, maybe it's a taunting at death. Maybe it's a taunting at the evils of this world, because we do like to play out, role play. I mean, people like watching movies and reading books where there's danger, obstacles, and maybe it has something to do deeply with that, confronting our fears or mocking our fears. And it's just fun too, but.
And that may be, but I would be willing to bet you that the overwhelming majority of people who celebrate it, who have a ball with it, who go to parties and the kids who go out trick or treat, have no clue. They just know that today's the day we go do this. And I'm talking about adults. I mean, I'm almost 60 years old, and there are adults my age that have no clue. They just know it's fun. Let's go do it. They don't know why they do it. They just do.
I read, and I don't know, they're blowing up firecrackers as well. I don't. I read, and I don't know exactly the particulars, but the I'll give you the overview. I found it interesting. I'm just sorry that I don't remember the actual specific names, dates, and this and that. But there were Europeans that came to the New World. And I don't know if they were British or Spanish or something other. I don't remember right now, but they did confront a tribe of natives. And the natives actually wrote down, I don't even know where I read it or saw it, but somehow or other I either saw it or read it or both. I don't know. So from the natives' perspective, it was the first accounts. I think it's from that channel that we both like to watch that you shared one evening, where they do original accounts, names from
Voices from the Past.
I think it was from that. So, fascinating channel, by the way.
It is. It's really excellent.
It's one of the ones that. I'm sorry.
I'll put a link over on the Trampled Underfoot Podcast Facebook page to the Voices of the Past YouTube channel. There's some excellent presentations over there. Great videos. Totally
awesome. It's one of the ones I recommend all around, because I love it. So in this episode, and I guess if you're interested, you could look further to see the specifics, but it was the accounts of the Indians watching these boats arriving and the tribes discussing what they were seeing in the horizon. And they were saying all sorts of crazy things of what it was. And these are the gods that are coming. And these are some sort of they went back and forth with ridiculous to us that know what that they're ships. They thought all sorts of weird things until one tribe guy come up and he said, no, that looks like it's some sort of floating something in the ocean. and those are humans on there. But those humans are supernatural or something like that, or they have been sent here from the. So he tagged on a whole, thing to what he was saying. So humans use deduction naturally. It's bred. It's ingrained in us. We use deductions. It's not like science is just invented in the last whatever. It's humans observe and they come to conclusions because they see repetition in the things that they are looking at. Right. It's totally human. Well, they arrived, and they were convinced that these were gods of something or other, and they were wearing what they were wearing, and these European people, and they were sitting there looking at them, and so they met, and the European sailors, they brought out a bottle and poured liquor into the bottle. I forget what kind of liquor, but in the story, they give the cup to the first guy, a native guy, and he takes it and he sniffs it and he passes it to the other guy, and the other guy takes it and he sniffs it and he passes it. So the whole tribe passed around sniffing the thing and not drinking. And then one guy says, "You guys," this is from the account of the Indians, "you guys are insulting these people. And what if they bring upon us great terror for refusing their drink? Well, you're just smelling it." And so he took the drink and he said, and he's taking one for the team, let's say, and he drank it. And in the account, you could go see that. I hope it's in that in the account.
It is, because I remember this one.
He fell over on the ground, and they thought that he had died, and they gathered around. And when he comes, to, he says, "That's the most. I felt like I was flying in the sky, and this and that." And so they took the bottles and they started drinking, and one after the other, they were falling all over the place, having a great old time. And so that's the beginning of that story. So you remember it then?
I remember this one, and you're right. It was on that YouTube channel, Voices from the Past, and I'll go try to track down that particular video, and I'll put it on the Trampled Underfoot Podcast Facebook page. Head over to Facebook, type Trampled Underfoot Podcast in the search bar, and that link will be there, and you can check it out for yourself. That is a fascinating channel. They take firsthand accounts. They take accounts from diaries and from documents they have found and old parchments and things of that nature, and they tell the story. These are firsthand accounts of a Japanese ambassador who was the first Japanese person to ever go to Spain, and he describes what it was like there. And the first, as Eloy was just talking about, an account of Native Americans meeting Europeans for the first time. And I don't remember who it was either, but I do remember that story. It's a fascinating channel. It's really, really worth looking into.
Yeah.
So how we got from Superstitions to there, I don't know, but it still is very awesome. I dig that stuff.
The reason I had brought it up in a very side road type of way is that these natives, these Indians, had traditions of dress, of rituals, day-to-day rituals, whatever their hierarchies, and these other people, the Europeans, likewise had their own dress and such, and this and that, and their own conclusions to how things function. And since we were talking about traditions or sort of relics and this and that, the point that I wanted to go after saying the thing is that if you're a person inside that Indian tribe, or likewise the European tribe, and let's say you frickin' flip the script and no longer do you hold yourself to the conventions of that tribe in little ways or greater ways, and it might seem like heresy, insanity to all around in the context of, let's say, an Indian donning I don't know, European clothes, for lack of a better suggestion, and he starts to live his life in a European way, let's say, that would be heresy more than likely, and looked at as if this guy has either been some
Right.
sort of possessed or gone insane. And likewise, a European that decides to go full
Right.
native, crossing these, or any other number of things. And what I'm saying is that even though the people around them may see it as insanity, culturally speaking, and what's wrong with this person, in the greater scheme of things, it's just a human doing what the hell. It might be true that the guy's insane, but it's just humans
Right.
doing what. So these conventions exist, is what I'm getting at. The water out the door, the eating black eyed peas, and this and that, and they're traditions, but and we hold them sort of sacred at whatever level. But in reality, we could just as well be painting our faces red and living, sleeping upside down, or I don't know what number of crazy things. And I'm actually talking at the idea of insanity and breaking from traditions and such. I don't know how crazy really it would be. It's just humans.
When you think about it, not that crazy at all, because there are a lot of people that are doing a great number of the things that we're talking about. I mean, we have become a lot more open and a lot more free. We've broken down convention. Now, you were talking about the exchange of clothes and dressing like another tribe, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
There are accounts of people, of men, quote unquote, going native and going shirtless when they're working. And we're talking back in the 16 and 1700s, when that was just not done. That was not appropriate. You always wore a full shirt. You always wore a coat over it.
Yeah.
You wore long sleeves. You covered your skin. You covered your body, because they believed it was, not only was it for propriety, but they believed that it was for safety. It kept the poisons from the air from getting into your skin. And for a man to be shirtless at all, let alone outside in public working, that was just absolutely nuts. You're crazy, So I have read of accounts like that and seen accounts like that, but we have broken down those old conventions. The buttons have to be buttoned all the way to the top of the shirt and, wrapped tightly around the neck. That's all gone now. Now, some of that came and went with fashion, but people are a lot more free nowadays I mean, you and I both remember a time where you would not dream of dyeing your hair, or even a section of your hair, a color like blue or green or red. And now it's common. You see it all over the place. That just wasn't done. And if somebody were to dye, just say, the tips of the top bottom 3 inches of their hair, they would be made fun of. You're a freak. What's the matter with you? What are you doing? You should be embarrassed by that. Go cut that junk off. And, God help you if you were to dye it, say, purple or green or blue. Anything other than a natural hair color. It was are you mad? Are you nuts? What's the matter with you?
Let me tell you one that I hadn't told you. Let me tell you one that I hadn't told you. About maybe last year sometime. Or this past year, or somewhere thereabouts. When I had my beard really, really thick, as opposed to this is not, but I had it like up to here. It was thick. I went to the Publix, and I'm working. I'm looking for my food and items and whatnot, and I'm by the freezer section where they have the potatoes in bags and this and that. Mm-hmm. And two of the employees, which happened to be, I could tell they were Cuban guys because of the conversation they were having, and but in that conversation they saw me. I wasn't even looking at them, but I'm aware of my surroundings,
right?
Roughly thereabouts. And they were sort of loud there, and they weren't doing their job. And one guy says to the other guy, "Oh, look who we have here. We have Osama bin Laden."
Oh, wow.
in reference to me.
Uh-huh.
And I heard that, I was like, are you kidding me? are you are you kidding me? You freaking idiots, because it's not tradition. And by the way, they're Cuban, and they're talking about their possible cousin, let's say.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're
I do.
talking, but they said, no, forget it, because why would any respectable, person in Miami, Cuban guy, or anybody might wear a beard like that, so extreme in their eyes? To me, it's not extreme. I'm just comfortably, doing what. But to them, they're looking at it and their point of reference and all they could think of, regardless. So you have people that are completely, more than likely could be cousins, once removed, two removed, sitting there looking at me, and because I'm wearing the thing, and
that's the best he could come up with.
But no, but it wasn't. They didn't direct it at me. Let me make that clear. They just mentioned it. They didn't even know I could understand.
Mm-hmm.
They literally, their association in their mind, they saw the beard, they saw me walking, and they said, forget it. This guy's freaking Osama bin Laden. And I wasn't offended. You know what I thought?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't offended or anything like that. But the ironies is what, you know what I'm saying? Because you could think anything, and you can't help it what people think you.
Sure.
But the irony of it is that it could be of the same ilk, more than likely, by blood possibly.
Right.
But they said that, and they said it amongst themselves, thinking that I wouldn't understand. I understood, and I felt like at that moment saying, hey, no, you guys got it all wrong, and saying it to them in Spanish and this and that. I choose to look like this. but it's a point of how people, a perception, beard, any change that's not of the norm, you could be thought of completely as an outsider, as a loon. I mean, because if you wear a beard like that in Miami, what's wrong with you? That's not the trendy go-getter type.
And that's the statement. The beard makes a statement, and that statement is up yours. See, now your brain goes in a different direction than mine, and this brings another side issue here, but side topic. But I'll get to that, back to that in just a second.
Yeah,
my brain would have been, if I understood what they said and I spoke that language, my brain would have gone in the direction of turning and looking at the one who said it dead in the eye and in his language saying, you wish you could grow a beard this cool, and keep on going. Yeah. Two things. Number one, lets him know I understood and I'm replying. And number two, your insult doesn't bother me at all.
It's just you totally. But in my mind, I'm thinking these guys. So I'm thinking their knowledge base is sort of limited. Is what I was also thinking. They don't have a concept of the greater picture, and you'd only have that if you were like into, like, let's say what I study. This is perfectly normal and natural, and for all intents and purposes, they branch back to the same places that I would, and more than likely a good chunk of it would end up in Middle Eastern, going back in time in Middle Eastern. It could be Jewish, it could be Middle Eastern, it could Semitic, it could totally be, but they don't in their minds, and so they have a limit. So I thought, and I'm not going to sit there and.
It's no big. My second thought is, what the heck do they care? What do they care? I mean,
I thought it was fun.
It was it is. There was a thing a few years back where kids especially, they get a decent haircut, but then they leave that one little tail on the back. That one little strip about a half-inch wide of hair that was longer than the rest of it. Oh, that's my rat tail. That's my rat tail. I used to be like, man, I'd go get my money back for that haircut. But then I thought about, what the hell do I care? It ain't me that's wearing it. You're the one being laughed at. I'm not. I really don't care. It's none of my business, man. But the side topic that I think is cooler than heck And maybe it's not so big for you because it's probably pretty common where you live. And that is people who speak more than one language.
Bilinguals.
But the folks around them don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And because I saw that happen at one of the casinos I worked at, one of the change girls, one of my partners on the floor, she spoke Spanish fluently. She looked like Lucille Ball. I mean, red hair, freckles, blue eyes. I mean, she was as white bread as me, but she was fluent in Spanish. And these two guys were, I mean, just bad talking her, talking bad about her. I mean, everything. Oh, look at this girl, and she does this and she doesn't do that, and I bet you this and I bet you that and all the other. And finally, she just snapped. She'd had enough. She spun around on them and threw out a tirade of Spanish that made them turn 6 colors at the same time. And they crawled out of that casino like, oh my God, I will never go back in there again. I mean, she told them off in no uncertain terms what was going on.
Yeah.
And then she looked at me like she was in trouble. And I was like, nope, you done right. I don't know what you said, but they felt it, you know.
Yeah. No, because see the thing about looks is that looks are skin deep.
Uh-huh.
And there are certain commonalities to a degree, in many cases, but you'll have, you could have, like I saw a video of a Mexican lady. Well, so she starts her video and she says, and she's like blonde, green-eyed Mexican lady. And she said, every time I'm walking around my own country and I go to the big city or whatever, I can understand exactly what people are telling me or are talking about. And they're like, look at this lady. She's not even from here. This is that. And I'm more Mexican than they are. And in her, she's saying, so I decided to take a DNA test. And the lady is a very fair looking woman.
Uh-huh.
Extremely fair. And so she took the test and she had a truckload of, Spanish, European, this and that, and in her results and stuff. But it showed up that she has indigenous as well, a percentage, but she came out like that. Right. But she has a percentage. So it all depends. And she said, so you see, I am originally Mexican. There it is, native, indigenous, blah, blah, blah. It's saying it right there. And these people, I could do it before. So she explained her issues because of outer looks and stuff. And so, so conventions and stuff can be misleading. I don't expect, like when I'm talking with people out here, I know that I don't know if they can speak English or Spanish necessarily. But I never assume that. And I do it naturally because I grew up here and there's people that you would assume that don't speak English, let's say, that totally speak English. But likewise, the opposite. You'd look at people and say, oh, these people don't speak Spanish, and they totally speak Spanish. So it's such a confusing thing. I just go by the assumption that they all do.
But that's what I mean by it's so common there, in that because you have so many bilingual people in that area. I mean, and so you're more or less used to it. That's why it's not as big of a thing as it is something out here. And I guess I'm perpetuating the stereotype because when it comes to people who quote unquote look Hispanic, the assumption is they can speak English and Spanish, especially if we've been talking. But I know 3 guys who are as Mexican as the day is long, don't know a word of Spanish except like tacos, enchiladas, burrito, things like that. Yeah. But they don't speak Spanish. I mean, they were born here. They're like 4th generation. but
Yeah.
they just don't speak Spanish. So I just really dig that calling somebody out who is talking about you in another language, not knowing that
Yeah.
you understand everything. I mean, I remember an interview with Mila Kunis years ago,
Oh,
the
yeah.
actress Mila Kunis.
I know what I know the story
And
you're gonna say.
she was riding in a taxi cab, and she was born in the Ukraine, and the family immigrated to the US when she was, I don't know, a young child. And so she grew up speaking Russian and English. And they were doing a press tour for one of her movies, and they were in Moscow riding in a cab. And she says, yeah, it was just weird to sit back and listen to the cab driver talk about us. And it's never anything good. But I like to just hold back and wait till the cab rides over, because you don't know what he's going to do. So you wait till the cab rides over, and in his language, you tell him what you think of him, and kind of clear up any misunderstandings.
The problem also is that people that commit those little errors don't have a big pool to draw from of knowledge, or culturally, they don't have a big pool of things to draw to make the correct sort of interaction. Reserve your speech in a certain nasty speech, and so they don't understand. They just don't grasp it, because I would assume that most people aren't going to be nasty just for being nasty.
Well, there's some truth in that, but I think what a lot of it is it's a lot of it's arrogance, in that, you're a cab driver, you've just picked up some people who are speaking English at the airport. They're obviously came in from the US. Their bags are now in the trunk, and you're taking them to the airport. Why would you assume they speak Russian? So, but it's your own arrogance that makes you say or do something like that, because you think you can get one over on them because they don't understand the language.
Right. Yeah.
And it's so when people get called out on that, I like it. I think that's cool as hell. I think it's fun. I only wish that I could speak another language, because I would like to have fun with it. I really would. I would have fun with it.
Well, everybody, I mean, because there's just things that are, just part of the cultural assumptions and stuff, and these are things that we just live by. They may be incorrect, and in some instances, and may be correct in other, so it's a fluid thing, and it's a cultural thing, and we really can't. I'll tell you one. When I was in California, great.
Okay.
I stopped at a gas station, and I went into the gas station, and either to fill up or get some more. I don't know what the heck. So I walk up to the little counter, and so there's two guys there speaking some sort of Middle Eastern Arabic. I don't know what they are speaking, and they're talking, and I'm waiting patiently, because I'm not from the state, and I'm waiting. I'm being polite. What you do. And they're talking, blah, 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 and they start laughing, ah, ha, 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 and they turn over to me, and they elbow me, ha, 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 like
you were in on the joke.
like I was in on the joke, and I was like, I was in my, like, for half a split second, I said, holy smokes. And I started, my reaction, what I did was I started laughing with them, and they didn't say much, and paid for whatever the hell I did. And I walked out. I was like, holy smokes.
Did that just happen?
It was great. Yeah, dude. Likewise, there was a see, it's a weird thing, because it's hard to place when you're outside of your environment. Here, it would be an assumption, probably, that that I'm a Cuban guy, and that and they usually talk to me in English, because it could go either way, but they usually talk to me in English. I don't know why they make that decision, because typically what they do is that they'll talk easily in Spanish, right, first. So it's because it's fluid here. But so another time, Iranian Jews
Mhm.
totally believed I was part of their community. And there was this girl there. She would talk me up a storm, and she was completely like convinced that, and I think that she dug me. I don't want to make any, but because she was quite, and then one day we come into the conversation, and I explain where I'm from. And from that moment on, there was no attention given to me. It was like turning off a switch. Once my origin wasn't of Jewish, Iranian, whatever, Jewish, it was done. No more conversation with me. I remember that. I was like, oh my goodness. And these are culture. You can't take it. You just have to, it is what it is. But it was like, oh my goodness, for real?
Now, was that in Miami there, or was that out in California?
That was in California.
Oh, wow. That is something.
Yeah.
That is something.
Yeah.
That's funny, actually. So she found out that you were not Middle Eastern. You weren't Jewish. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
Done. Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
and probably, the truth of the matter is, because I have such a different, I have a different view than when I set out in this whole ancestry journey and this and that. Although everything traces back currently to Spain of known origin for the past 300-400 years, there's still hundreds of years before, and there's still branches.
Right.
I see it as I'm not saying I am, but I'm probably more Jewish than she is at some point.
Yeah,
I know it's not true because of leading up
you
direct
never
lines,
can tell.
But what I'm saying is that who knows through one branch of the numerous branches that they were not all. I have Jewish with the the Hebrew results with people that their names, as opposed to writing it like in English, they write it with that lettering,
the Hebrew text,
and they're there.
Yeah.
And so at some point we share a common ancestor. So maybe, it's, I have a broader look at
if you ever go back to California, did you ever get her number?
No. Dude, we're talking 20 years ago, roughly.
But what I'm saying is you could look her up on Facebook. I mean, you never can tell.
I don't even remember. I'm telling you the story because I remember the story, but I don't remember the actual people.
Yeah, but I mean, that is kind of funny that it switched off just like that. I mean, just immediately. I mean, and because there's so many questions that open up. What caused the switch to flip? Was it the fact that you weren't Jewish? Was it the fact that you weren't Middle Eastern?
No,
was it both? None?
I don't know. Of course, once the conversation occurred, the trigger was that it's a cultural thing, and I'm not part of. Right. This is what I assumed. It's the most reasonable thing that I could assume. Once the cultural thing was delineated, it was a done deal. I was like, wow. But then again, you can have it. People with whatever in their minds. Like I had long hair, and this girl loved my long hair. Oh, I love long hair, and we were dating. Oh, the long hair is great. And one day I cut my long hair, and when I cut my long hair, she stopped responding. It was the end for long hair, for hair. So people, whatever people have in their minds is what they have in their minds.
To be fair, Eloy, I was brokenhearted when Linda Ronstadt cut her hair. And like I had a shot at Linda Ronstadt, I was 14, something like that. But I was heartbroken when she cut her hair. It's like, no.
I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Not much you can do. I mean, but at least you found out that level of shallowness before things got serious.
Oh my goodness. Cause that is, and honestly, I understand the cultural thing as less shallow. Like, let's say if you're intent on keeping, cultural traditions, and you want to, like, let's say marry into, and continue a cultural thing. Like, I understand that. It, to me, love is more important than that. So if you meet someone and it's just like magic, fireworks, and this and that, I mean, to me, that would trump the cultural thing, because love is love. there's things to contend with there, but physicality,
Right.
I mean, you don't want to be grossed out either, but on
No.
things like a haircut
Uh-huh.
and stuff like that, to me, it's like, are you kidding? But there you go.
Yeah.
You know,
You know, if you'd have worn a t-shirt of a color she didn't like, I mean, you know, yeah. Yeah. I mean, some people are pretty ding dong shallow.
I mean, it's but people have whatever notions, and getting back to the traditional, or I guess like talismans and this and that. I saw a video where, and I didn't know this, where Jewish people in New York, it was a documentary on the Hasidic community,
Right.
and on a channel that does like travel logs and this and that, and he just did one, and this Hasidic community opened their doors to the guy so that he could share with the world their thoughts and concepts and this and that. And it was it's like a 5-part series, and it's really well done. And they really opened up there because they are a very religious group, and they're quite different traditionally in their way of conducting themselves in life than your typical, New Yorker, or let alone American. They're quite set apart, like the Mennonites would be, or whatever. And so they have a talisman that they attach. I don't know if you knew this, but I forget but it's like this long bar, and they could be intricate, and they attach it to their front doors or somewhere at the entrance of their houses. And there's some purpose for it, but they have, everywhere you go, businesses and everything, they have that sort of talisman thing bolted to their doorways, and it's just part of their culture. It's something that's so unexpected, but they have it, and so they have their traditions and stuff. And just,
I mean, people are people, and we all, you said it yourself, I mean, several times, we're all basically a collection of tribes. And what one would see as odd, another see as common day. I mean, just everyday normal stuff. And it's when those traditions and those cultural differences collide that I think we have the most friction. But personally, I like to embrace it. I just embrace it because I celebrate the differences. I love the differences. I mean, there's a lot being said right now about we're all the same. We're all just people. We're all the same. And I say that a lot myself. But I say, no, we are different. And we need to embrace those differences because that's what makes us who we are. I mean, you know how boring this world would be if everybody thought the same, looked the same, listened to the same music, ate the same food, spoke the same language. I mean, it's that variety and those differences that provide the spice. And I like to experience those differences. I mean, to me, that's what makes it all worth living. It's what makes the exploration so much fun.
I'm totally in agreement. Within reason, like I don't want to like dip my body in alcohol because of some religious thing just to fit in and then run across when flaming, but within reason, going to, like, let's say Chinatown in California, or over here the food that the Nicaraguans make, as an example, or ceviche and stuff, the cuisine part of it as well. And even other things in the culture. So these are interesting things. They're different. We can realize that they're different, and they're fun. And I agree with you. It would be boring if everybody was like of one, just everything. It's just boring, dude.
Yeah.
It's good. That's a good thing. But you have to have, there's you have to be open to that and stuff, and there's people that are not. There's people that are not.
Right. And understood. Yeah, we all have our own comfort levels, and we all get off the elevator on the floor that we're going to. Yeah. But I mean, that was why as a kid I enjoyed going to Catholic church with my Mexican friend, I mean, I was, 10 years old at that. I really dug it. I loved it because the only churches I'd been to were Baptist, and this was completely different. So it was new and it was exciting to me, and I loved it. And Mama Jimenez, she loved it because her kids didn't argue about going to church anymore. They wanted to go because I was going. So I endeared myself to her. And to kind of call myself out here, I forgot to set the timer. So buzz.
I do it, and it's actually right on the money, just about.
Yeah, I know. I've been watching it.
I did want to mention also another, because it's Miami is a unique place. Back when I was growing up, I remember rushing to a friend's house. I don't even know why, but I wanted to visit my friend. And I didn't know he was Indian or something to that effect at the time.
Uh-huh.
I really didn't understand. There's so many differences with people that here in Miami, at least for me, and in my house, it's not like my parents were saying that guy's this, that guy's that. None of that. But I ran to my friend's house, and back then we used to run right in the door. I mean, we'd knock, but if the door was open or this or that, and the friends were in the couch, sitting there and stuff, you know how it was.
Yeah.
So I went in, and because my friend's sitting in the chair, and hey, dude, let's go out and this, and that, and he's just sitting silently, his eyes closed, in a leg folded position, and I was a little guy, and I'm like, hey, dude, are you? I started getting really. So he was meditating. Now reflecting back, but at the time, I didn't know what meditation or what and I sat there looking at him for a while to see if he'd flinch. Because automatically he's playing a game. He's playing, hey dude, and he was totally concentrating. So I'm sure that he was aware of my presence, but he's saying, I am in a state and I am completely full. He was just sitting there. And I was like, holy smokes. And I just stepped out and left after I saw he didn't react whatsoever, dude. Whoa.
Did he explain himself later on?
I don't remember that part. The shocking part. I think he said he was praying or something. I don't know what the story was. But that's totally weird. We don't do that.
Yeah.
But there you have it. It's just so.
That's funny. Jeez, that's funny. That's funny because I can picture myself in that situation too. That's funny. Oh,
without knowing,
yeah,
right.
Just plain out ignorance. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and what do you do? I mean, I decided to. I mean, I could have shook his chair and this and that, but my decision, I'm glad I did it, was like, okay, there's something weird here. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and leave, and I just left. Because it's just so.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's funny. Well, you beat me on 2 stories. That was real. Yeah, I like that.
So we're gonna do that we've not been doing before, right?
What do you mean? Oh, the
after
hang around? Yeah. The
Okay.
after show. We kind of forgot last week and somebody hit the button too soon. We will be hanging out the chat.
So I do want to thank you guys for checking us out, hanging out with us. We will be back next week at 7. Oh crap. No, 6:30. Boy, I sure did botch that one up. At 6:30 West Coast time. And that's 9:30 East Coast time. You can catch us here on YouTube, Trampled Underfoot Podcast on YouTube. And we do have a website, which is trampledunderfootpodcast.com, where you can catch our past episodes. And we do have a slew of very interesting conversations episodes on there that are very entertaining. So you might want to go check that out. And so we also have
Facebook. And again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a link to, I'm going to try to find that particular video. If I can't find that particular video of the Europeans and the Native Americans meeting for the first time from the Native American perspective, I will link to the channel, Voices from the past. And that'll be over on our Facebook page. Go over to Facebook, and up there in the search bar, look for Trampled Underfoot Podcast. That's us. And give us a thumbs up. Check it out. There, if we talk about something like a video, a picture, a music, or something like that, and we have a reference, we will post it over there so you can get your eyes on it and check it out for yourselves and see what you think. That's Trampled Underfoot Podcast on Facebook.
And we're also sponsored by Harneal Media, and that's harnealmedia.com. That's Steve Nealon over at Harneal Media. And if you need a website, or you need to sell a product, or need a product made, like shirts and mugs and such, well, Steve Nealon over at harnealmedia.com can help you out with that. It's a personalized service, great pricing. It's a one-on-one. We're with them, and so are a slew of other famous YouTubers, which you can see who they are by going to the harnealmedia.com website and checking out the people that he hosts. So be sure to check that out, and we'll catch you next time.
Later. Okay, this time we didn't push the button.
we become so what's the word, radio when we do our spots. Why do we become so radio? Or at least it's perceived by me as such. Like our voices we're no longer lackadaisical.
I step in closer to the mic and I talk into it. Head on over to the Facebook page. The dulcet tones of Mark Lindsay in your ear. Or you can jump back into the top 40 AM rock and roller. The boss jock with the boss sounds from the boss list of the boss 30 that my boss told me I had to play.
The other day I was driving home from what was it? Christmas dinner.
Uh-huh.
And on my way home, I turned on the radio and I took Vigo with me.
Yeah.
So I had taken Vigo with me, and so he's riding along. My windows don't roll down no more, so he couldn't enjoy the breeze. He was kind of pissed about that.
I don't blame him. That's heresy for a dog.
But I did turn on the radio, and I was, switching the channels, and I ended up and I'm sure you have a local jazz channel, college jazz or whatever. And the voice of the announcer and the music, I don't know if it's the same across the country. I'm sure there's similarities where the guy's like, and make sure to check out this new song by Martha and the Vandellas, and you get, and it's sort of like very calm, and the music's like that jazzy ding 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 ding. And as I'm listening to that, I'm like, man, this is some smooth ride. This is a smooth ride, and this is the music. It was such I love that level, that tone, that dial station like that. There's something welcoming and comforting and cozy that occurs.
Now, you guys out in the chat out here, we got Jim Dockrell, Jim Bashirs, and Greg and Steve and Frankie, and Linda was there. I don't know if she's still there. Usually what she does is she drags her spinning wheel over and listens while she's spinning, so she can't really type. But see if you guys can back me up on this. I was talking about the AM top 40 disc jockey voice where they have to be emotive. That was all the AM top 40, but the FM progressive rock DJs were always talking like this, just like you're talking about right now. And now we have a new band. They're called Boston, and we're going to play this track called Foreplay and Long Time here on KSJO. That kind of thing. There was just almost no emotion, and that's how you knew you were on FM progressive rock. It is okay. That we can stop. You're searching through the channels, turning the little dial, and you hear that voice, and you go, okay, here we are. We're good. We're home.
I like that. I like that tone. I just totally, there's a Miami, or I guess it's either the FIU or Miami-Dade, or not Miami-Dade, Miami, University of Miami, UM, one of those. They broadcast from some place down in Coral Gables, somewhere thereabouts, or Coral Way, and they have an actual little building, and musicians go in there and play and they have a video live to follow the radio side, and it's super. I forget. I saw it like once or twice, and it was super awesome because you have kids jamming out. You got the announcer guy, and you got the whole thing. You can watch it, or you can listen to it on the radio. It was such a cool thing. I don't enjoy it as much as I should. I partake.
Well, there are a lot of radio stations that do that now. Some announcers don't like it and they don't want it, but a lot of announcers will now have the webcam going, and it's streaming live on their website. Now, just about every radio station, you can go to their website and you can listen live, but some of them will even have a camera in there, and it's kind of cool to see the behind the scenes and see what's going on there.
I totally.
Yeah, Jim says Andy Frost overnight was the epitome of that. Now, I'm not familiar with Andy Frost. Was he the smooth talking, easygoing overnight guy at the radio station, or was that something that was? I'm not familiar with him.
Is there a connection to the Beatles with Andy Frost? Because I don't know. It gives me my memory is saying something to that effect. Maybe.
Now there are a lot of there's a lot that goes into picking out a name for a DJ. It just depends. Sometimes you get that name on your own. You come up with it yourself. Other times you are given a name. It's quite against your will, and you will be that person. It just depends,
I did want to say, and by the way, I know that Jim is doing some surgery or in the process of, or going.
Cheers,
yeah. So we want to wish Jim good things always. We're with you, Jim, in spirit.
He got interrupted by a nurse a little earlier. I guess he had to duck out of and couldn't listen.
Oh, okay, but it's so if you're there, you might take the opportunity to propagate our YouTube channel to all the patients.
Yeah, turn it up.
Pump up the volume and make those.
Listen to these guys.
You guys, but you gotta jack it up. You can't be just like, hey, this is a YouTube channel. You gotta go like, dude, get out of. Move that cast. Let's rock to this,
Yeah, right. This will put you into traction. He's like, thanks, Eloy. I'm in the hospital now.
No, he's saying from the thing before, I think.
You think?
I did also want to mention that Jim Dockrell, we haven't really talked on it, but since we're now the after show, he purchased some time ago, maybe a few months ago, if I recall well, a honest to goodness church further up north somewhere in Canada, close to a lake, I believe it was. He could tell us in more specific terms, but you could check out his progress on his channel as well, as he's just souping the place up, getting rid of all the this and that's not needed. But the purchase of the church, and we're in confidence here, right, Jim? I can say, Jim, all the gyms. The question is to all the gyms. Lake Superior. So here's what my thought process was, and in confidence again, when Jim first said, hey, my lady and I, we just purchased the church. The first thought that I had was, and this is weird, how rock and roll is that? But think about, because, it's very, I don't know is this like a bad thing, sacrilegious to say, but I thought of that movie with Eric Clapton playing guitar on the altar and stuff is what first popped into my head, Mark. I thought rock and roll sort of thing. It's so rock and roll it's so weird, that it's totally, isn't it?
Yeah, the first church of rock and roll. We're gonna baptize you in rhythm and blues. 50,000 watts of faith, healing power. That's right. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. If I was given the chance and I had the money and the price was right and the building was in decent condition, why not? Why not buy a church?
He says he is ordained through the ULC. I don't even know what ULC stands for.
I don't know.
United Lebanon Caucus. Eloy, you little blasphemer, you.
Yeah.
Jim Shears. Oh, that's what I thought. I thought of, well, what's that? It was a Who movie, right? Where Tina Turner, remember? And Elton John with the big boots.
Yeah, that was Tommy.
Yeah, I thought of Eric Clapton singing Strange Brew or something.
Well, that was the Acid Queen. Tina Turner was singing the Acid Queen. I'm the gypsy, the Acid Queen. The movie was a dog, but the soundtrack was awesome.
Pretty cool, yeah.
It's a great soundtrack.
Universal Life Church. Okay.
Jim Bashir said he tried running up and down the hallway playing the podcast loud, but his gown was open in the back, and they sent me back to the room. Well, one of these days you're going to learn. Grab the wheelchair, then they can't catch you. They'll chase all day long, but they can't catch you.
That's great.
When I was 12 years old, I had my appendix out, and the first night I was just kind of I was drugged up like crazy, of course, just come out of general anesthesia. But the second night, they made the mistake of leaving the wheelchair to where I could reach it from my bed, and I drugged myself into the wheelchair, and I just went exploring. And I ended up, I didn't even know where I was. I ended up upstairs in a burn unit talking to a kid about my age who had been burned, and I won't get into it, but I just ended up sitting in his room. We were talking BS together, and finally his nurse came in and just, hi, how are you? This, that, and the other. And finally a nurse from my floor came. There you are. Don't ever do that again. And, well, I guess I got to go,
That's cool,
but,
dude.
Yeah, man, just getting that dang dong chair and just whoosh.
Just to wrap up the gym thing, because so the idea of purchasing a church, well, he did say that he's ordained and whatnot, but the idea of purchasing, wait a second, that poses a lot of questions, because did you purchase it to renew the church practice? Are you preparing it for church service? I don't think that's the case, but I'm assuming a lot in my mind.
Yeah. Well, he put out a video earlier today. It was an update on some of the work that he's been doing, and he's been doing a lot of work on that place.
Yeah.
I mean, he says there's not a lot of visible progress, but I could see it. I could see a lot of the stuff he was doing in the background, because I'm one of those people that I look in the background for stuff. And this is not gonna, well, it'll be on this channel, and it won't be on my channel and everything. I have been slowly but surely piling up things for my shop behind me.
That's right.
I've got, stacks of electrical wire there, that box that's leaning up this direction, right by the wire. That's shop lights. I mean, I got stuff stashed back there, and just to see, does anybody notice? So when I'm watching other people's videos, I look in backgrounds to see what's there, and you can see piles growing and piles moving and this, that, and the other. He's doing a lot of work.
Yeah, he totally is.
But he said in that video that he had a tenant that was coming in to rent it. And I don't know what kind of a tenant he has coming in. I don't know, are they going to be preaching, or
he wrote it out there that it's going to be a cabinet maker.
Oh, okay. I see it.
I mean, it is an adventure. That's another thing I thought. How cool to do something, because it is outside of the standard. Because what's the standard thing? You move into, and by the way, I'm not knocking the standard thing, because it's worked across history and time. Yeah. But it's such a hippie thing to do as well. It's such a totally, like, I could totally see a magic bus sitting outside, frickin', musicians coming in and out of the house. I could see, like, in my mind, right? Like a revival.
Well, it kind of on a similar vein, but a different subject. I've always thought since I was a little kid, I've always thought that one of the coolest cars to own would be a Cadillac hearse with flames on the front and half of the engine sticking up out of the hood. I just thought that would look cool. to drive around in a hearse with the coffin in the back and the whole ding dong thing.
It could be an ice chest, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably what it would end up being. You pull the thing out, flip it open. Oh, drinks,
That's macabre. That is macabre.
It is, but I always just thought that owning and driving a hearse would be cool.
So
I was probably the only one that thought that, but I thought it would be cool.
Well, no, I could totally see it's a rock and roll thing to do. He did say that he's going to do like a bed and breakfast type deal because he can pretty much do. The chapel itself is bigger. What was it? The chapel that he said? The chapel is as large as my whole house. We moved from.
Oh, wow. Just the chapel. And it's not a small room. That chapel is not small. You should have seen did you see that video he put out earlier today?
I did. Well, yesterday.
Yeah. Well, okay. I thought it was today. Okay. They're all kind of a blur to me right now. I've had so much going on here. It's not even funny. The last 3 days have just been.
Well, so what's been going on with that?
I'm not ready to talk about that yet. Not anywhere in public just yet.
So
next week we can talk about it.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I do want to mention then the video, the Jim Dockrell video, above his garage is some other room, but you can see some of the floorboards and you can see straight to the garage on the bottom level. I don't know if it's the basement or I don't know. I think it's 2 stories.
It's the basement. Yeah.
And that's pretty freaking neat. He was doing the wiring and stuff. I love that whole thing because it's like complete rehab of a structure. I don't know how far he's going to go with it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, dude. Yeah,
it's a huge amount of work. I mean, it's more than I would want to take on now, but because I mean, just you're talking about the size of the place. I believe you said it was 7,000 square feet. The whole complex is, and it is a complex. Believe me, this is not a house. It's a complex. It should be the Dockrell compound.
In Frankie CNC's case, his neighbor bought a church, and he says it's full of stuff now, and it's become his storage. But could you imagine having so much that you have to store things in a building that big? You're never going to really mess with those things.
Yeah, I don't have any idea what you're talking about having that much stuff.
Well, I mean, but compared to a church full of stuff that's yours in storage, oh my god! Well, you do have stuff in storage too, but we're not talking about.
Yeah, I mean, and but I'm just looking around here. It's like, my God, where did all this crap come from?
I'm with you, dude.
And that's a lot of what it is. It's just crap. Now, to be clear, crap is an acronym. It's not a dirty word. It's CRAP. It stands for collectibles, rare, and precious. And that's how I treat them. So, I mean, I got stuff all over, and I still can't remember to reach down and hit the buzzer, the timer. So
I was going to tell you, but I stayed quiet because I figured you had that under control. I thought of it at the beginning of the evening, actually. But you hit the buzzer in your mind perfectly at the hour mark, But I'm with you as far as stuff. Like, I could look around and there's a bunch of stuff. I mean, like, I could just pull this. I've got some precision screws. They're not supposed to be here. I've got screwdriver. It's not supposed to be here. I
got all kinds of junk within easy reach. I mean, if you don't have a tape measure right next to you,
you're nothing.
Yeah.
Without a tape measure,
tape measure and a knife.
Yeah. I'm totally with you on that, man. I just. However, I know where I'm going to get you. I'm going to stump you on this one.
Flash drive. I mean,
fingernail clippers. Oh, dude, you know what's weird, dude?
And
you know what's weird?
And a cuticle tool.
Okay, I'm not as fancy as you are. I'm not as fancy, but you know what that just proved, right?
What's that?
That there's a weird universal synergy going on. We have literally, I'm sure not all of it, but enough similar items at our reach that it's weird, dude.
Okay, how about router bits?
I'd have to go next door to get that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So but then again, I'm not,
A nail set.
in the next room.
Okay. Well, hey.
Yeah, but you know what you can't reach for that I can?
Uh-oh.
Belt.
Sand?
Yeah.
No, not a
Sandpaper.
sanding belt. No.
Sanding belt, man. You can't do
No,
it.
I got no belt.
So that's the thing. There's so much stuff I need to organize myself. Luckily you clamps.
Spring clamps,
Well, you have me beat with spring clamps, but do you have ratchet clamps with you?
They're hanging on. I would have to get up and take 2 steps.
And you're nobody if you don't have masking tape or tape.
That's also right there. I'm looking at it.
See, I'm telling you, dude. So if you can't reach for the tape, you have serious problems.
Well, the only reason I would have to get up is because my headphone cords are too short. And I'm never far from my coffee. So.
Oh well, I'll share something weird with you. The other day.
Oh.
Have you ever seen a Dixie cup that looks like this?
Only when it got hit with a heat gun.
Okay, perfect. Well, I put in coffee like up to like here in a normal. This was normal. And I put it in the microwave. My dog started scratching to go outside, so I decided to walk outside. By the time I opened the door, I started scratching my ass and looking outside. And then I said, "Oh, wait a second!" And so it had formed into this little thing. I've been using this little thing ever since, and it's actually quite balanced. It melted in a perfect way, dude.
Yeah, my wife Linda says, "Eloy, you got a spinning wheel?" Mark wins.
Do I got a spinning wheel? In my head, it's always spinning.
I got one right there. I got one behind me. I've got one over there. I've got 2 in boxes right here. I got another one in a box here. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, so obviously certain items.
I got stuff.
And don't let me go on about adapters and connectors and plugs and this and that.
Oh no.
Okay, because
oh man. Well, you think we ought to go ahead and land the plane?
Yeah, I think we did good. We started a conversation that we had no idea where we were going, and somehow it turned into something.
Linda told me a story about something she read. Linda has here lately. She's been hooked on Reddit, and she gets off in these tangents about, or not tangents, but gets off into these subreddits about various stories of people interacting with other people, the entitled people and stuff like that. And this ended up going off of the Reddit platform to somebody's webpage, and she couldn't find it. But the story was intriguing as heck. I'm going to save it. But it was basically the gist of this thing is never judge a book by its cover, because the person you're looking at and you think of in one way is completely different than you would assume. And this was like the king of all of those kinds of stories, and she could not find the story. I wanted her to forward it to me because I wanted to go through it. I could not find the story because I was going to bring up that topic tonight because I thought it was just absolutely killer.
I like the premise of that because I am one to believe. What I like about that, just off the top of what you said, is the concept of, because it's very easy for me to look at someone and assume their disposition, their attitudes, their this. It's very easy for me to make a list and check off all the and categorize and make sure that, okay, this person believes this person is this. And it's human to sort of kind of subconsciously or consciously, I don't know, sort of start to make those decisions about what a person. But the truth cannot be. You could have some validity and maybe from some way, their behavior or whatever, but the truth cannot be everything that one is assuming, without, so we don't know other people. We just don't know.
And people can surprise you, even people you think you know. And I was going to relate another story about that. But I mean, you know, everybody has a story. Everybody came from somewhere. And that little old guy in front of you at Walmart bent over with a cane, moving at half a mile an hour with the Vietnam veteran hat on, was more of a badass than 99% of us will ever be
Yeah.
when they were younger.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they survived that war proves it. So, you know, making assumptions about folks is just, you do so at your peril.
When I confront or interact, when I interact or at whatever level with another person, way more often than not, although there are exceptions, I always, and I don't know if this, I always realize one thing that I think is the most important. It's important for me to understand this, is that this person is another human being. I know that that's a obvious one, but pain, um, this their how their moral state at the moment, you know, or do they have, um, they hurt as, and I could be in their shoes just as easily as a snap of a finger, or vice versa. I think all these things, so that always makes me go towards being polite, at least in function. I might be in a crappy mood, but I try not to in those encounters. Now, if I'm with friends and stuff, you know, I'll say, "Oh, I'm in a crappy mood," you know, or
Yeah.
I'll tee off Patrick's like he does. But that's another level. But like with strangers and that we don't interact with, I always remind myself that we're all human and susceptible to all the things, and I could be in that person's shoes, you know,
Sure.
quickly, you know.
Dude, I got a dose of reality one day in a grocery store. I mean, I came in and I bought like 3 things. And this was back before self checkout, when they actually still had baggers. You know, the clerk was ringing stuff up, and there's this guy, this kid. I say he's a kid. He was probably 20 years old,
Yeah.
and he's putting all my items in a bag. And he's in a wheelchair, and he's putting all my items in a bag. And I have one bag, and he says, "You need help out with this?" And I said, "No, man, I got it. Thank you." But that made me, in my brain, I tried to do it as smooth as I could. That made me in my brain reevaluate. We've got a kid with a smile on his face, no sarcasm at all, laughing and joking and having fun with the clerk and with the other bagger and the other clerk and the next check stand over, in a wheelchair, asking me if I need help out to my car with one bag.
Yeah.
What have I got to complain about? How bad could my life be? You know?
Yeah.
I've got zero to complain about, man.
Yeah.
I really had to reevaluate, you
Yeah.
know? And believe it or not, there's like 3 trips to that store later, the same thing happened. He asked me, "You need help out with that?" I said, "Yeah, man, let's go." And he kind of looked at me weird. And we got out to the car, and I took the bag off of his lap, and I said, "You look like you needed a break. Maybe get out of the store for a minute and get some air." And he goes, "Well, actually, yeah, thanks."
That's good.
And I'm like, "Okay, you know, thank you." Gave him $1. I said, "There you go. Thank you. Take care." This is years ago, back when you would still tip baggers.
Yeah, they still do it around here.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah. But I usually take my own groceries and stuff, because I take and I did at one, you know, it's a funny thing. I used to do that too, but I usually now take my own, because I'm like, you know, what, you think I can't handle it?
Yeah.
Because they'll say, "Okay, sir, you know, sir, would you like me to accompany you?" I'm like, in my mind, I don't tell them this. I'm like, I can do it on my own, punk. Give me that. You know, it's almost like no, I'm well equipped to be able to drag my ass over there with the bags back to the, you know, it's almost like a challenge and stuff.
Yeah.
I know one day it'll get to the point that I'll say, I mean, if one's lucky, you know, yeah.
I don't know why I said yeah to that kid that one time, but it just kind of was like, all right, you know. It's. I still don't know why I said, yeah, I need help with that bag. Come on, let's go.
It was a little challenge for him
It was,
to
well, it wasn't so much
change
a,
up.
it wasn't so much a challenge as it was, I figured, get him out of the store for a while, say something else.
Yeah.
Because also on the other side of that coin, I didn't want to be that patronizing person who goes, oh, he's in a wheelchair, I feel sorry for him.
Right.
Screw that. He
No,
didn't think of himself that way. So
Yeah.
why would I think of him that way?
Yeah, and that's totally the wrong way to go about it. And
Yeah,
to
I
sort of,
mean,
look down at another person,
yeah,
or
well, I don't see it as looking down. I see it as kind of taking pity on someone who wasn't asking for it,
right, pity.
So it was just like, yeah, come on, let's go.
No, and we all have our certain handicaps to deal with, in respect to, it could be anything, beyond physical, but physical is quite the obvious thing. So I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah. People are people. There I go. I said it again. Okay.
People are people. It's true. I brought all my glue and paint in the house yesterday, Frankie. What I would like is a heated room to keep power tools in and keep the tables from rusting. Yeah, because Jim lives up in the Chicago / area, roughly thereabouts.
Wax them.
Indiana, Chicago, or Indiana, or Louisiana, Illinois, somewhere thereabouts. He lives in a cold place.
Wax it. Wax the heck out of it, man. Just go get you, and make sure it's silicone free. Just go get you some car wax.
You got to wax everything.
Yeah, you have to wax everything.
Think of Brazilian bikinis. Wax everything in your place.
Do they wax Brazilian? No, they wax for Brazilian bikinis.
Yeah, Jim, that's your that's your what do you call it? That's your assignment.
Mm-hmm.
You need a full on wax job.
Okay, yeah, in Northwest Indiana, 15 miles from Chicago. Dude, wax the heck out of it.
Yeah, just wax, dude. Right now, I'm telling you, wax is the answer. You need wax. And I'm not talking about just tools.
Wax
Go
off.
for broke.
Wax off.
Yeah, you can read between the lines.
Let's close this puppy down. We're losing them.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's one thing that I the whole waxing revolution. I've seen it throughout the years, and it's one of the things that's so unappealing. No, it's good on women and stuff, but like waxing, it's one of the subjects that just doesn't even cross my mind. But there's a whole industry of people that are totally into the whole waxing thing, guys and girls.
We're still talking about power tools, right?
Be careful with the power tools, Jim. Be careful with the power tools. That's just leave that alone. When we say waxing, we're talking
the table saw.
The table saw, but leave the power tool alone.
These are the thoughts that kept me out of the really good schools.
We want to thank you guys for hanging out with us. We do have to boogie. So we'll catch you next time. You guys be safe. Keep us up to date, Jim. And when I say Jim, I mean all the Jims.
It's the Jim and Jim show. And
peace to Frankie, Linda, Steve, and all the characters out there. Greg, that joined us. And nothing. We shall speak soon.
All right. Catch y'all later. Have a good one.